Everybody, welcome to the Christian here in West Seneca, right? Is that right? Yeah. 4 stops. I've forgotten where I am. But yes, that's where I am. A long day today that began actually with a plane flight out of LaGuardia Airport. And now here I am in West New York for my 4th stop today. If you guys want to clap, now's a good time. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming today. And why in the world am I still doing this? Why am I out here yet again making another tour, 14 stops in 4 days? Why? Because I honestly believe something that's going to sound a little scary, but I honestly believe it. I think the window for change is closing. That's what I believe. Some of you may agree, some of you may not. I think the window for change in this state is closing. We are doing such a terrible job of trying to deal with the issues in this state that they're getting so bad that eventually they're simply going to be unrepairable. Why would I say that? This state's budget has gone from $190 billion to $220 billion since COVID, and we've lost about 500,000 people. Think about that. Raised 30 billion, lost 500,000 people. You can figure this out without having to have a degree in mathematics. That's more payment for all of us. That's what it is. That's regular math, not Common Core math. Regular math, you know that's a problem. You might say, but Larry, don't worry about it. We'll get business to come back or something. Okay, that sounds good. But just this year, we're going to have at least a $50 billion deficit, and we already have $500 billion in debt. Think about those numbers. This is a state. How are we going to fix this? And I would ask you, if any of you have been paying attention to Democrats and Republicans, what is the Democratic plan to fix this? Exactly, nothing. Yes, nothing. What is the Republican plan to fix this? Blame Democrats. Yes, 100%, and doesn't work either. You'll hear me say this often, and I want you to really think about this. Think hard about this fact. The Democrats have run this state for 20 years. If they were going to fix it, they would have. The Republicans have watched Democrats destroy this state for 20 years. If they were going to have a plan, they would have had one. There is no plan. Their plan right now is to grift as much as they can, take as much from the state as they possibly can before it all burns to the ground. If you think I'm wrong on that, please give me one candidate who has done anything that's not that. You can't. That's what's happening right now. That's the issue we're dealing with right now. And I said, well, it's okay, Larry, because we can find plans to fix things. Great. Let me ask this question. What happens to a Democrat in this state who crosses the aisle and tries to talk to a Republican and gets something done? What happens to that Democrat? They get primaried. They lose their seat. Correct. What happens to a Republican who crosses the aisle and goes to a Democrat and tries to solve something? What happens? Same thing. Yes. No, they're exactly the same, aren't they? They're exactly the same. And I'll do one more thing. At my last event, which sadly I was unable to record because of something that was going on next door, someone said, Larry, I would have voted for you last time, but you couldn't win. That's what he told me. I said, okay, that's great. Did your guy win? That's what I said. Daniel was there. He was like, no. I'm like, yeah. So your guy can't win either. So if I can't win, your guy also can't win. But you voted for him because people told you that voting for me was a wasted vote. So they told you. Let me ask you, of all the people running in 2018, who's still here? Yeah, only me. If you voted for anybody else, that was a wasted vote. All the rest of them are gone. I was the only one who, after I lost, still kept covering the state, still kept coming back, still kept talking to you individually, still kept asking what your problems are. I'm the only person talking who tells you what's actually happening in your individual counties. I tell you what's actually happening because people tell me because I ask them. That's the difference. I'm still here. Well, Larry, that's great, but what are you going to do to fix things? Well, have you seen my website? The plans are right there. I had plans since 2017 on my site. They're still there. Try to find a current Republican or Democratic candidate that has an actual plan on their website. You can't. What you find is if they're a Democrat, here's what they say: Trumpism's going to kill us all. Got to vote for me, or Trump's going to come and eat your babies. That's their entire plan, right? Thank you. Orange man bad. Correct. Yes. Orange man bad. That's the whole thing. If they're Republican, socialism's going to come kill everybody. Biden's going to come eat your babies. Socialism bad. That's their websites. How are you going to fix education? By caring. Awesome. How? By really caring. Awesome. How? By supporting. Great. How? By so supporting. We're going to support so hard. But how? That other guy's really bad, isn't he? That's what you get. That's happened since 2000. Since Al Gore. Those of you remember Al Gore. Since Al Gore, every consultant has told their people, don't you dare put a detailed plan out on your website, because the opponent which attack you make you look bad. I said, I'm putting mine on. Mine have been on for literally years. If any of you saw me on the Joe Rogan interview, at the end of that interview, Joe Rogan said, hey, your ideas, they're really good, Larry. How'd you get them? I said, well, me and my team have put them together. He goes, that's great. You got to lock those ideas down. I said, why? He said, people will take them. I said, take them. I don't have to run anymore. I can go back home. Fix my state. I'll go home. I'll do this. Who's taking my policies? Nobody. Nobody. But they've been out there for 4 years. And I still put up new ones. And no one even bothers to take them. Why? Because they don't want to fix them. Are you telling me that someone savvy can't fix our problems in New York State? Of course they can. But I'm going to tell you something that will make some of you people who aren't hardcore libertarians a little cringe. But I'm going to tell you anyway. Government does 4 things very well. 4 things really well. 1, kill people. Really good at that. I want people overseas to be angry, I'll bomb them. Well done. Will it solve the problem? No, but we'll bomb them. So you'll feel good about bombing them. Number 2, imprison people. We say it all the time. I'm mad at people who are now not overseas, but here. Let's make laws and put them in jail. Awesome. To solve the problem? No, but imprison people. 3, let's make a bunch of bureaucracy and check boxes. That's what we'll do. We'll check boxes for bureaucracy, because that'll make things better. So now I have big business that I'm angry at, so I'll make a bunch of regulations. That'll solve it. Who's going to write the regulations? Big business. Little guys hurt. There's no efficiency. Last thing, it does really well out of the 3. It's the 4th one. Write checks. Man, can government write checks? It's a problem, throw money at it. Throw money at it. Throw money at it. But note, none of those things actually solve anything. But that's the only thing that government will do for every single issue and concern. If you think of any politician, except the one you're looking at right now, to solve a problem, it's always one of those 4. Let me tell you what all of mine are. Every policy you've ever heard me ever talk about, any solution you've ever heard me talk about, 4 things, not those 4, 4 different. Number 1, never ever an additional tax, fine, or fee, ever. You should be clapping right now. Never an additional tax, fine, or fee. Never. And I've had solutions for everything. Never. 2, never a enforcement to where now I have to force you to do something. No force. I do not blame the individuals. I blame the system. I blame the game. I don't get mad at the player. I get mad at the game. I change the game. I have better players. I change the environment. I get better results. That's what government should be doing, making a fairer, better environment to get better results, not forcing people to do things. That's not a good idea. 3, whenever I'm trying to help people, I always focus on helping the working poor and the middle class. All my policies focus on giving them the best life they can get, and to the best of my ability, the same quality that the wealthy get. That's what I focus on. Well, why don't you focus on the very poor versus the working poor or the middle class? Because who in reality, who helps the very poor? Bingo, the working poor and the middle class. Who's in the soup kitchen? Who's helping people out? Who's giving people second chances? It's the working poor and the middle class. That's who does it. That's why I help them. Why don't I help the wealthy? They don't need me. They're wealthy. They're good. They don't need me. It's fine. They'll be fine. They're wealthy. No worries. When it comes to business, I always focus on the entrepreneur class over the corporate class. Why? Because the entrepreneur class gives people second chances. helps people out, grows, and cares about the community. And I talk about community all the time. People think, well, Larry, are you saying that you don't want government to help anybody? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is community does a better job. So I have to help grow community to help people who need problems, who have problems and need some solutions. Right? That's important. Problem is, whenever you add government, you by default remove community. And we saw that here with the COVID lockdowns. With the COVID lockdowns, we saw communities who no longer knew how to take care of themselves. They have been supported by government for so long, they lost institutional knowledge on how to support themselves. I want to change that. So with that in mind, I want to talk about what people are asking me here. Number one thing I heard about today, that I heard about today here is mandates. People are unhappy about mandates. I am too. But maybe not for the same reason that some of you might think. I can't stand the mandates because when you start having mandates, it encourages two types of thinking that I can't stand. One, blind loyalty. I'm going to follow because the government says so. I'm following. Yours, I'm doing. Yes, let me do. Don't think, do. And the second, blind rebellion. I'm not doing it because they told me to do it. I'm not doing it because they told me to. And I got to tell you, I felt it too. Both of those are bad. Those are not good things. The right thing is for you as an individual to think about what makes the most sense for you and your family and loved ones, and to think smartly, look at your options, and make choices. I don't want you blindly rebelling. I don't want you blindly following. I want you thinking about what makes the most sense for you and then acting accordingly. Does that make sense? Mandates are bad whether they work or not, because it hurts our culture for the future. So even if you're going to argue, Larry, these mandates work, maybe they did. Okay, great. What about the next thing that happens? Now you have blind rebellion. And you have blind obedience. That's not going to help. That's bad no matter what. Does that make sense? People ask me, Larry, are you anti-vax? No, I am pro-consent. Pro-consent. You own your life. Yes. You own your life. And that's okay. I get it. If you're telling me, Larry, I think vaccines are amazing. I want to get them. I want the boosters. I can wait for the next one to come out. Awesome. Good on you. I'm not mad at you. Good. Are you going to force me to do all that stuff? No. We're good. We're good. Life is good. You do what you think is right for you in your world. And that's what I want. That's what matters more than anything. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yeah.
This is what I'm trying to get across. And you're not finding others do it. You're finding people become angry. And I've had someone tell me, Larry, aren't you happy in Florida? It was Texas, Florida, right? Where the governor said he passed a law saying you can't mandate locally. Aren't you happy about that? And I said, no. I don't want the governor being involved at all in that, pro or con. You do you. I'll leave you alone. Does that make sense? That's what I'm trying to achieve. So I'll go one step further with mandates. I've met people as I came across this state who've been losing their jobs. Losing their jobs because of mandates. And I think to myself, wow, it's terrible. Wow, so you work, you're client facing in your business? No, not at all. You're losing your job. Yeah, this is my job. Okay, well, you work for the government. No. So you don't work for the government. You're not client facing. And they go, no, I work from home. You work from home. Yes, I work from home and I'm losing my job because of a mandate. So you don't even see clients. No. Do you go into the office and see other people? No. I wake up, stay in my house, do my work, and stay in my house. My company's in Ohio. I'm not making this up. My company's in Ohio. Losing their jobs. How's it even possible? Why does it even make any sense? So what am I now encouraging now? Am I encouraging her to think clearly? Is my environment encouraging her to think clearly? For you to think clearly? For anyone to think clearly? No. That's what I mean by a mandate, encouraging one of two things: blind compliance or blind rebellion. She is going to say no, even if it was good for her. And the next mandate, she's going to fight that too, even if it's good for her. That's our problem. That's the issue. It is a terrible idea. Am I making sense so far? Awesome. So let me move to another piece if I could. Mandates are one thing. I get it. But the biggest issue that's dealing with most of us here is because of things like mandates and other things, people are leaving this state. They're leaving this state left and right. And if you're not leaving this state, you're thinking about it. Is there anybody here who does not know someone who has left? Anybody? Yeah, never. Same time every time. Every room, same thing. Everyone knows someone personally who's left. Of course you do. They're leaving the state. And you might say to yourself, Larry, you're leaving the state. I should leave too. You could. I get it. But I'm going to tell you a quick story on why I ran. I ran in 2018 because I was considering leaving too. I was going to go to North Carolina. From what I do in my business, I have to have a large city, right? For my consulting that I do, my day job that I used to do, I don't work anymore because I'm doing this now. But when I used to work, that's what I did with big cities. So I was going to go to Charlotte, North Carolina, because Charlotte's a big city in the South. I was going to go down there. Well, I went down there. I looked around, and I was shocked. I could sell my tiny home in Queens, which, to be clear, is literally 20 feet wide. Not yards, not acres. My property is 20 feet wide. This room is wider than my home. This room is wider than my entire property. And you can't get to my backyard going around my house. You have to go through my house because the other houses touch. So there's no way to get around my house. Other houses touch. I could sell that shoebox of a home and buy a mansion in North Carolina and pay less taxes. And you thought, well, Larry, why didn't you leave? Because I got mad. I said, why does my state suck? That's what I thought. Why does my state suck? I'm born here. I love this state. It's amazing. It's a great state with so much great stuff in it. But the problem is, the government is so oppressive, it literally breaks up families. That is how oppressive our government is. And I got angry because by that time my mother had already passed away. And she lived in South Carolina because she had to leave because she couldn't retire here. So she spent her retirement in another state, not here. So I got mad and I came back and said, I'm going to run and I'm going to change things here in New York. Didn't work out as I had hoped. But yes, I did. But I said to myself, you know what? Maybe one more time will work. There we go. Maybe one more time will work. I'll give it a shot. I care enough, I'll go again. And I'm going again. That's why I'm doing it for a second time. Now, you might say to yourself, Larry, you're crazy. Probably. But there are a couple of things I want you to think about. If I didn't care, I wouldn't do it. From 2018, there were 5 people running for governor. I was the only one not getting a government check. Every other person running was literally being paid by you to run. All of them were. They were all getting government checks. I wasn't. I didn't work for a year and a half. So now I made up some cash. Larry, why didn't you run in 2020? Because I was broke. So now I'm back again, doing it again. And my last day of work was about 2 weeks ago. And again, who's going to be running against me? Odds are it'll be some Republican who's already a congressperson and some Democrat who's already either a governor or already a attorney general. Which means, again, I will be the only person running without a government check. I want you to think about that. That's our system. That if Larry Sharpe doesn't run in 2018 and doesn't run in 2022, no one is running for governor who isn't on a government check. This is an establishment person's game. Does that make sense? This is an establishment person's game. That's the game we're playing. I'm trying to break that. I'm trying my best to break that. If I actually run and win, let's say I win this thing. If I win this thing, do you understand it will change the entire nation overnight? There's no hyperbole on that. That's real. Imagine that. New York is not run by a Democrat. Think about that. New York State, not run by a Democrat. Not just that, there'll be senators in our state Senate that will turn libertarian. Why would they turn libertarian? Why would state senators now in our Senate turn libertarian? Why? Think about our state Senate now. It's almost 50-50. You get 3 or 4 libertarians, they run the Senate with a swing vote. Does it make sense? Libertarians run the Senate with a swing vote. I win the governorship, we own the governorship and the Senate. Not the assembly. That's going to be tough. That's tough. But assembly and governorship, we got right away. Done. Real change. Not just that. Throughout the state, people start changing. Hey, wait a minute. I can be libertarian? Libertarians can win? I'm going to do that. I hate my party. Because most of them do. You know that. Most of them do. Then they'll go, oh, good. I'll do that instead. I can be my own person. Yeah, you can. You can be your own person. You don't have to do whatever your leader tells you to do. You can be your own person. Oh, my God. Think about the actual Senate. Think about the actual House. How many people would actually become libertarian? What if 2 or 3 senators, literally national senators, became libertarian? I can think of 2 Democrats who want to happy right now who might want to become libertarians, right? What if that plus a couple Republicans who were on the edge, who would all of a sudden turn libertarian? Now libertarians run the actual Senate. That would happen overnight. But something else would happen. There'd be an ability to have a third party. Why do you care? Maybe you think you don't care. Maybe all you care about is, hey, can I pay my bills? Can I survive in New York State? Maybe. Okay, no worries. But if you want something to get done. I would ask you, when's the last time something's actually gotten done that helped you out? You can't remember. All we do is fight each other. All we do is vote against the other. But if all of a sudden now there's a third party where we can actually talk to each other and take this gap that keeps deepening and begin to close it over. Now all of a sudden we can start talking to each other. Now we can start fixing things. The third party, the Libertarian Party, can actually be the peacemakers. It can be the healers. It can be the people who start having conversations about actual answers. Because we don't care if you're liberal. We don't care if you're conservative. Just don't force others to be like you. You don't have to convert to be one of us. It doesn't matter. You don't have to convert. You can stay liberal or you can stay conservative. It's really okay. We can just let Brooklyn be Brooklyn. We can let Wayne County be Wayne County. We can let Ontario County be Ontario. It doesn't matter. Whatever. Everyone can be whoever they want to be. It doesn't matter. Right? We can all be whoever we want to be. It doesn't matter. It's a way different way of looking at things. And now we have conversations. Does that make sense? Now, I want to ask a question if I could. Is there someone here who heard a policy that I had from 2018 that thinks cannot work in 2022? Anybody who's heard a policy from 2018 who thinks it cannot work in 2022? Tell me.
I heard why hasn't anyone adopted it?
Oh, I like that. Thank you. Great question. Yes. Oh, yes. I love that. I love that. I love that. Let me walk down that road real fast. Some of you might say to yourself, well, Larry, if your policies are so good, why has no one adopted them? And I go back to my same point. Why would they? Why would they? The goal in currently with a two-party system is I'm better than the other. That's all that matters. They're told not to have policies. We have a crazy story. There are lots of Democrats and Republicans who are on my policy team now. Why would Democrats and Republicans come on my policy team? Why would they? Makes no sense. Why would they do that? Because other candidates don't have policy teams. I'm not joking. They have communication teams. They're on policy teams. Can any of you think of a policy for another candidate? I'm serious. Can any of you right now in this room think of any other policy from other candidates running? Think of that. You can't. Is there anyone here who's seen me at least one time before who cannot think of one of my policies? Yeah, you thought of one immediately. They don't have policies. They don't need them. All they have to do is let you know, if I'm a Democrat, orange man bad, vote for me. If I'm a Republican, socialist bad, vote for me. That's all I have to do. I don't have to have policies. So they don't care. So let me talk about that policy right there. Some of you may remember, we have to find a way of fixing our infrastructure. Our infrastructure is broken. We all know it. And it is billions upon billions of dollars. And what are we going to do? We'll just get billed back better. And then they'll write big checks and that'll work. That never works. That never works. Have you ever noticed that, particularly in New York State, but all over the place, stuff's always under construction and never, ever fixed, but always under construction? Why? Why would it be that way? Because construction workers are evil or bad? No, they're just workers doing a job. They don't care either way. They're doing a job, right? Doing what they got to do, making a living, paying the bills. No worries, all good. The system encourages them. Because what if it's delayed? What happens if it's delayed? What happens? What? They're not out of work. It's delayed? More overtime. They're not out of work. No. That's how the market works. We're talking government, right? We're talking government. If it's delayed, they still get paid. Doesn't matter. How many of you have worked on any type of site where there's 2 guys working, 4 people inspecting? Yep. And then the inspecting guy walks by and goes, "Oh, they should just go shut it down," right? And then they all shut it down, and it'll stop working. Why are you not working? Well, this thing isn't safe. Who's fixing it? We got to go get somebody from the site, come fix it, make it safe. That just delayed everything 3 hours. Nobody cares. They're all getting paid. Are they bad people? No, that's the system. That is the system. So it's in their best interest to always be working on stuff. So they always work on stuff. So they keep working on stuff. No worries. And we keep paying for it. But imagine if instead, I brought this up the last time I ran, and I'm still agreeing with it. Imagine if we had to pay for infrastructure, particularly in New York City. I brought up for New York City specifically. Instead of paying for the maintenance of the bridge and paying tolls, right? We pay tolls around here also. But in New York City, to cross a bridge in New York City, $18. One way, one bridge. $18. One way. He knows. One way, one bridge, 18 bucks. What if we instead didn't name the bridge after, I don't know, say like Mario Cuomo? What if we didn't name a bridge or something like that, and we instead said, you know what? If you want a bridge, we'll name the bridge. The Verizon Bridge, the Pepsi Bridge, the Comcast Bridge, whatever, the 3M Bridge. I want $100 million for naming rights on that bridge per year. Larry, they're going to pay $100 million? They pay $20 million for a stadium that gets used on the weekends. I'm giving you a bridge that gets mentioned hundreds of times every single day on traffic reports throughout the city in a 16 million metro person area, 16 million metro person area. And not just that, your name's on the bridge. You will see it as a million drive over the bridge. And I'm still not done. Think of all of the movies and TV shows that are filmed in New York City. You get product placement for free. They will pay. How do I know? They've already told me. Bankers already asked me, how long is the lease? And I said, no problem, 10 or 12 years. All of a sudden now, they are paying for that bridge. And part of the deal is you front load the cash, as most loans are. You front load the cash this way. If they end it at a certain time, we still got our money up front, a bunch of it up front. And second, they are now responsible for maintenance. We still own the bridge. We still inspect the bridge. If it's screwed up, they got to fix it. They don't fix it, they lose the contract. We will have safer bridges, and we'll get $100 million in New York City to pay for our broken infrastructure in the city. And its best part, no tolls. Now, the average person who crosses bridges in New York City, truckers, obviously, who many of them are owner-operators. That's my entrepreneur class. And who else? The working poor and the middle class, heavily the middle class. That's who crosses bridges. The wealthy live in Manhattan already. So they're not crossing bridges. They live in Manhattan. They're not crossing bridges. And they can afford it anyway. They don't care. Right? So that's fine. That right there helps them. But it's more important. There's about 12 different bridges that could probably do that in the New York City area. That's $1.2 billion.
And
I'm sorry?
and tunnels.
And tunnels, exactly. That's about $1.2 billion. That helps pay for our MTA system in New York City, which right now you're paying for, by the way. The MTA is such a disaster. New York State gives it $6 billion every year to bail it out. So thank you for paying for my subway rides. Thank you. You might as well come down and ride it because you're paying for it. So if you haven't ridden the subway, you probably should come down. You're paying for it. So you might as well come down and ride it once if you haven't. But all of a sudden, that begins to go away, and we start paying for that. But I still wasn't done. Remember my whole plan for the MTA? The system is broken in New York City also. Broken completely. So now what should we do? At nighttime in New York City, the trains run at half speed, like every other train runs at night. Why aren't the other trains in between freight trains? Bringing freight into New York City. You bring freight into New York City, well, those lines aren't made for freight. I guess I have to rebuild all the freight lines. Who's going to pay for that? I know, Amazon. Yeah. Will Amazon have billions of dollars? Amazon's marketing budget in any given year is about $8 to $10 billion. That's their marketing budget. Could they afford to fix it? Yeah. We'll have FedEx help out too. FedEx will own a part of it, and Amazon will own a part of it. When it comes to naming rights, they'll own different parts of it. Naming rights only, we retain the ownership of it. We get a brand new system, freight trains coming into New York City, and guess what? Less traffic, less wear and tear in the city, less 18-wheelers in the city. Everybody wins. Everybody wins. Were they interested in it? Yes. Did any politician bring it up? No. Why solve it when I can just yell and say how bad the city is and blame everybody? I can just blame everybody. Very much easier. But here's the biggest piece that will make some of you unhappy, but will actually work. If that happens, who is physically paying for the maintenance? Who's physically paying for the maintenance in both of these cases? The company is. Is the company going to put up with that kind of labor practice? No, they're not. They're not. They're not at all. But not just that. The best part is, what if the labor practices are bad and the company puts up with it? Do you care? You're not paying for it. The company is. So if there are bad labor practices, what do you care? You're not paying for it. And that's what I want. We could fix all different parts of our infrastructure throughout this entire state. We could fix the Erie Canal. Yeah, I said before, the Erie Canal. It's about 500 miles up, give or take, about 3 dozen locks in the Erie Canal. The Erie Canal does one thing very well: smell bad. That it's good at. Everything else, not so good. But imagine if we were to revamp the entire Erie Canal, and we again use private companies, sponsored each lock. There's a McDonald's lock, and there's a Taco Bell lock, and there's a Burger King lock, and now all of a sudden all the locks taken care of, and we're going to put on the Erie Canal hovercraft. I'm not joking. Hovercraft. When I was in the Marine Corps, there was hovercraft that could take a tank across the ocean. I'm sure it's way better now. I was in the Marine Corps in the 80s. I'm sure it's way better now. But Larry, how do we do that? I don't know. I don't care. That's why we have that's why we have cool colleges in this state who will train nice and smart and savvy engineers, youngsters who will care about this cool stuff, who will stay in this state and figure it out. Just doing that in itself makes people go, oh, New York's doing innovative stuff. Maybe I should not pack up and go to Vegas or go to Arkansas or go to Nashville. Maybe I should stay here and do some cool stuff here and stay in this place. Now we have some cool things happening back and forth. Now, I know some people tell me, Larry, that sounds good, but it's kind of dystopian. But I'm going to see advertisements everywhere. You already do. Have you seen Manhattan? It's already there, number one. Have you gone online? It's everywhere. Have you picked up your phone? It's already there. That's number one. So it's already there. The idea it's not there is silly. But not just that. Here's your option. Something doesn't look nice, or the poor and middle class pay and keep suffering and leave our state. I'm not okay with that. If you got a better idea, no one's had a better idea. You got a better idea to fix it? I'll shut up. I'll do your idea. I will. That's why I don't care if people get mad at my idea. Larry, idea is bad. Great, you have a better one? If they go, yes, here's this better idea, I'll go, you know what? You're right. How do I know that? If you go on my website and check my policy, I don't put my name on my policies. I accept them all, but I let my team write it. Because if they're wrong, they'll change it, and I'm fine. I'll get behind them. If we take it down, we'll take it down. We'll make a new one. I have changed policies. Some of you may remember, I changed my police reform policies because I was blinded by New York City police force. And when I talked about how we have to have policing differently in more rural and suburban areas, I actually changed my police reform policy because it doesn't work in other areas. Because someone called me and literally said, this doesn't work. We talked about it. I changed my policy. So I hope someone says, Larry, your policy is wrong. Show me a better way. I'm open. I want to solve things. I don't care about who gets credit. It's amazing what things you can do when you don't care who gets credit. It's amazing. Did I at least answer your question on that bridge thing? Did I answer it at least? Yeah? Good. All right. Any other question? Okay, I went a little bit off. I'm sorry. Anyway, is that okay, guys? I yapped a bit. I want to say thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you. You can clap now if you want to.